Perfect. So like Michael said, Teams live events are those large meetings when you need to go over 250. So this is a prime example of a meeting. We are at the 250 limit, and I cannot get my demo account to join the meeting so that I can properly show this. I'll keep monitoring the window here and see if maybe if people have other priorities come up. If our number drops below the threshold, we will do that. So live events, right? We have up to 10,000 people in live events. They're perfect for town halls. They're perfect for all hands, CEO connections. Those are the types of things that we use them for at Microsoft. But with a lot of our customers, Michael was showing that diagram, and I'm sure he mentioned this, that a lot of our customers are using it for all kinds of stuff, from remote court hearings to council meetings, anything that they need to turn towards the public, right, where anybody can join. Those are all great scenarios for Teams live events. And also, how at the beginning of our meeting here, we had some people that maybe didn't realize they were not on mute. Live events is a one-way broadcast, much like you're watching the news. So you can't come off of mute and talk back to the news reporter through your TV. So that's similar to a live event. But like he said, you do get that moderated Q&A, which kind of takes care of the audience interaction piece. So I'm in my Teams client, and on the left-hand side, we are in the calendar. If you're not familiar with your calendar, this is just a mirror of your Exchange Online calendar. So this will look exactly the same as your Outlook calendar. And you can see I have a lot of meetings on here. It's been a crazy time here at Microsoft, as you can imagine. And most of these, if not all of these, are normal Teams meetings. So when I say regular Teams meetings, like the one we're in right now, this is the two-way street where we can have people come off mute, we can share files, and collaborate in that way, turn on our videos. But our live events, if you are in your Teams client now, bear in mind mine is a little bit more updated. You can probably see a little DF up here at the top. I'm on the internal Microsoft early release thing, so we can test out all the features and let the product group know what's going wrong. If you go to new meeting and you click new meeting, it will bring up your normal meeting window, and there will be a caret about right here. And if you hit that caret, it's like a drop down. It looks much like this one. There will be a option for you to change this to a live event. Now, the UI is updated to where it's right off the get-go here. Here is the caret for us to choose. And when I drop down, you can see we have the option for a live event. So this is just for scheduling your live event. When you're ready, you can come in here and click live event, and it opens up a very familiar window. This looks like a normal Teams meeting window, but instead it says live event, and you are setting up a live event. So I will do the state of Texas all hands as an example. I could give this a location. I could give some details. I'll say this is the live event. And what's important here on this screen is that this title is actually the title that will be displayed when somebody joins the live event. So I wouldn't, call this. I've seen some customers say this is a presenter invite or this is a test. Whatever you put in here will be displayed in the top left-hand corner of the screen for your audience. So once I have my title, I have some details. I can come in and I will select the time, and I will just do today at a random time later in the day. So do 7 o'clock. And now on to the important part here. On the right is the event group. So when I need to designate who is going to be presenting, right? Who's going to be talking, anybody that needs to be a part of my live broadcast, they need to be a member of my event group. So myself, I am the organizer. So I am the producer, and we'll get into what that means here in a moment. But let's say I also needed Michael. Michael is going to be presenting on my live event. So I type in his name. He comes up in here in my event group, and I'll also do Justin Roan. There you go. So Justin and Michael are in my event group, and notice they adopted this role type as a presenter. So the difference between a producer and a presenter is that the producer is I like to call him the orchestrator of the live event. This individual starts the live event, stops the live event, says when to go live, chooses content that's coming up next. If you've ever used an encoder such as Wirecast, OBS, vMix, any of those encoding tools, you usually have the queue and the live event. They all kind of work the same way. Where on the queue, you're queuing up things to come next, and then on the live event, you're seeing what your audience is seeing. So the producer is the one that chooses those things, and the presenters simply make their content available. Maybe they turn on their webcams, they have a microphone, whether that be on their computer or an external microphone, and they can simply talk and share their screen.
Hey, Grant.
So
there was a question in the chat that said, was asking about, can you use a distribution list for who you invite?
Yes,
you
can.
A distribution list.
So but I want to make something very clear. What we're doing right now, we are scheduling the live event for our producers and presenters. This is not the invite that goes out to our 10,000 people. So here, you're just going to want to bring in your people that are going to be presenting, and I'll show you what the big time invite looks like. So I'm going to hit next on this screen, our live event. Those were just the time and event group. Now on this screen, we get into our permissions and assets for the event. So by default, the selection on Microsoft's at least says org wide, meaning that, and this is who can watch your live event. So who can click the link that we distribute and watch and participate. If org-wide is selected, it's going to be, as you can imagine, everybody in the organization, and we're going to require them to sign in. So this is, if you have an example at Microsoft, we have employee all hands with Satya. So those are internal only, and so they probably choose org-wide in the settings. If you want to narrow that down to not only org-wide, but only specific people in groups, you have this option here, and you can come in and type in distribution groups and specific people, and these are the only people that can watch the live event. Or a very popular option down here is the public option, meaning we are not going to challenge any credentials. Anybody can watch it, including people in the public. So we could set up this live event and put it on our Facebook page, and anybody who comes across it could click it and watch it. So I'm actually going to choose that one because most of our customers see that this is the most relevant when they're doing, any type of constituency broadcast. They choose public, and then I will scroll down, and now you get into what you want with your live event. So do you want a recording to be available to your producers and presenters? And these are all check boxes. If you want it, you check. If you don't want it, you uncheck. Do you want a recording to be available to attendees? And the recording available to attendees is actually a very great experience. We'll kind of get into that, what that looks like later, but basically, anybody who wants to rewatch your live event after it's over, they simply revisit the link that they were provided to watch it in the first place, and it will have the event recording there hosted for them to watch with full DVR capabilities, full closed captioning abilities, and that link will stay active. I want to say for 90 days, it may be 180. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's there for a while. Now, on top of the recordings, we have these closed captions. Now, I know this says in preview, but this is available in government. I have checked in my government tenant. We have customers that are using it. And by checking this box, I'm saying I'm going to be speaking English, right? So I'm going to say I'm going to be speaking in English, and this is why this is in preview, because I think we only support English at the moment for closed captioning. And then on top of English closed captions, we want a live translation. So we want to live translate those captions to up to 6 languages. Now I'm going to go in here and select these because best practice, you do have to select them. If you don't come in here and select them, it will not be translated. So I will come in here and I will choose Chinese, and Czech, and Danish, and Dutch, and French, and German. Okay. So I've chosen those languages. Those will be available to my audience to flip through to their language. And now that brings us to the attendee engagement report. So the attendee engagement report is who joined, when did they join, how did they join, when did they leave. It's just some telemetry about the live event. Now, this information might not be super useful to you if you are using a public live event because we don't require them to sign in. They can just join anonymously. But if you're having internal, this will give you some metrics around your live event. Now, the last
Grant,
piece,
we did have a question. Is the live translation in caption or can they hear the audio in their language?
it is in caption. So this is all under the captions option. That would be really cool. That will be coming one day, but it is in the captioning. It will not translate the speech audio wise. Perfect. And Michael, could you give me a running count of how many we have in the meeting right now?
We have 200 and plus 245. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 255, 256.
Okay, so I still won't be able to join. I'll ask you one more time here in a minute. So
okay.
That was the attending engagement report, and then the last option here is the Q&A, and this is very important because you can see it is not checked by default. I actually have no idea why this is not checked by default because it's a very powerful tool. If you want your attendees to be able to ask questions during the live event in a moderated fashion, as Michael was saying earlier, you need this box to be checked. So I'm going to check that, and I'll show you exactly what that Q&A experience looks like. And remember, if we have 10,000 people, we don't want everybody to be able to come off mute, and they can't. That's how the product is built. It is a one-way audio from my event group to our attendees. So this Q&A is what allows them in the audience to participate in a moderated way. It's not just a big chat box. It's for specifically questions and answers. So all of my options look good. I just personal
Grant,
preference.
just one point there is you see the little radio button that's grayed out that says an external app or device. So
yes.
What I spoke about earlier, if you're needing to use an encoder for some reason, then
Yes.
You need to choose org-wide meeting, not a public meeting, and then that option will be ungrayed. And then you have settings that you can set for what your encoder is, and a bunch of technical things like that.
Yep. So that experience as well, when you choose an external app or device, what it does is it spits out a server ingest URL, and then you just simply plug that into your encoder, and you send the stream from your encoder to Teams, which broadcasts your live event through our CDN. So that's great if you need, if you need production equipment, if you have really, a high expectation for the visual effects, you want to have some transitions, you want to have overlaid text, you would need an encoder for all of those things, and that is how you do it. Thank you for that, Michael.
You're welcome.
So I will hit schedule, and now this live event will be on my calendar. An email invite will go out to my event group. So an email invite went out to Justin and Michael. And down here at the bottom here is what the invite looks like. And I'm going to point out a very key point similar to the question we got earlier. This is your producer and presenter invite. Notice it says do not, and I'm going to draw all kinds of arrows around this, do not forward this invite to the attendees. So this is not what they will use to join. You don't want to forward this out. This is simply for your event group to come into the pre-staging area to get ready to broadcast out. If I scroll up.
Can I pause you for a moment and ask a question?
We
had a couple of questions in our organization regarding pre-recorded materials. If I have a video that needs to be recorded, etc. Can I ask you, is there a particular setting that we use to make that easier, or is that going to require some external software?
You're saying you would like to play a recorded video?
Correct.
During your live event. I haven't tested that myself. You can absolutely, have the video open on a desktop that you are sharing during the live event. I think I'd have to check if GCC has the sharing system audio. That would be the option that you need to make sure you select during the sharing, so that it does transmit the audio over the wire to your broadcast. And that's when you go to hit the share button as a producer or presenter for that matter. So it's nothing here in the scheduling. It's simply when you go to the sharing tray to start sharing your screen with the video on it, check in your, like I said, I haven't checked in my GCC tenant recently. Check and see if you have a box for include system audio, because that's what would make that, the best.
All righty. Thank you so much, Grant. I appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Great question. So up here at the top, we have a box for the attendee invite, and specifically this hyperlink here. This is a clickable hyperlink. It says to invite attendees, copy the link and share it or send it in a calendar invite. So you can distribute this invite however you want. This is your link. I can click and notice it says copied to clipboard. And now I can post this on my website. I can post it on Facebook. I can distribute it via an email. One best practice that I like to share with customers is that you use a URL shortener and you hyperlink it. Somehow you shorten that URL because it is a big URL, and distribute it that way. If you use a URL shortener, that means that in the event that you need to make changes to your live event before it has started, you can always go and make changes and then replace the source URL. So if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to me, reach out to Michael. We do that kind of stuff all the time. So our live event is scheduled. We have the attendee link. Like I said, we can distribute that how we want. And here now is our State of Texas all hands live event. And it is showing us that it's a live event by this tiny little broadcast icon here. And now I'm actually going to have to, Michael, could you give me another chance at the
yeah, we have
count?
250 right now, 239,
Okay.
249, sorry.
I'm going to try one more time, please. It looks like it's, oh wow, I got in. Okay, if you could do a song and dance for a while I transition to my alt account, give me about 30 seconds.
That is Grant's demo account, and without having that joined in, he was going to have a real hard time doing the demo for y'all. So that worked out well. And I want to apologize. I did not realize, this is Michael Kennedy speaking with Microsoft, there would be this many people that would be interested in this topic, and this many would attend. Joy warned me. I will give her credit. She said, we might have more than 250 people that want to attend. And I was like, wow, really? No, how? So we went with a Teams meeting, which has a capacity of 250 people. We should have heeded Joy's warning and gone with a live event, which could have been up to 10,000 attendees. And actually, right now, during the COVID-19 pandemic and the remote work scenarios, we've actually upped that limit to 100,000 simultaneous invites, or I'm sorry, 100,000 simultaneous attendees. And so that would have been a good thing to do, Joy. Thank you. And you've got a big I told you so coming for me. So there is a Richard Jimenez asked, why isn't there a dial-in phone number? Richard, there is a dial-in phone number. I'm going to post it back into the chat. We didn't post it in the meeting request, and so, but there's the dial-in phone number for you. Yes, I agree. In the chat, Joy rocks.
Michael, can you hear me? I am back.
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Wonderful. Are you seeing my screen?
Microsoft best practice. Don't disagree with Joy O'Brien. Totally agree. Okay, and so yes, we can see your screen and we can hear you. And and then Richard said, no, there's not a dial-in number for the live event. Okay.
Yep, we can talk about the what capabilities you have here in a second with the dial-in piece of it.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that. Nice. Thank you for holding my spot there as I transitioned here. It seems like we did it pretty quickly and it was pretty painless. So let's continue. So as you can see, I had to free up my Teams client because I can't be in a Teams meeting on my desktop client and produce a live event at the same time. I could schedule it, but as soon as I would have joined, it would have put this meeting on hold. So flexibility of Teams in action. I joined the meeting from a browser. Here is my meeting now. And now it freed up my Teams client so I can actually produce the live event. So that is a requirement for Teams live events to produce. You do need the Teams desktop client. And now let's say that this orange bar that represents time was a little bit closer down here to 7 o'clock. And I'm getting my event group ready, getting them together, and now it's time for us to go into our live event to get the get everything ready, right? Maybe it's 15 minutes before. So I'm going to click on it and actually join this live event. And bear with me if my audio cuts out. There you go, quick and easy. I had to switch the audio source, and I will hit join now. So just because I'm joining this live event does not mean that we are actually live. And Michael, if you could give me a cue here that you can still hear me.
Yes, we can still hear you.
Beautiful. So we are actually pre-live as indicated up here by our yellow pill indicator. It is yellow, letting us know that we are not live. So when you join, it does not automatically kick you into a broadcast. And my event group could now join. And Michael, don't worry, Justin, I have no idea if Justin Rohn is on. Do not worry about joining. It would put you on mute for this call or put you on hold. So as my event group, as they come in to my live event, they will be appearing down here across the bottom rail. So you can see I'm the only one in here. It's saying, you are the only one in here. And we have two boxes. One is the queue and one is the live event. The queue is simply what's on deck, what's next, and the live event is what's being shown right now. So if somebody was to join our live event right now, it would let them know that the live event has not started yet. So I'm going to actually have my other screen. I have 3 screens, and this is getting a little crazy, but I'm going to actually share. And the person who, let's see. So I'm going to share this item right here, this screen number 2. So let's say I had, I have to pull this back up. Let's say I had a PowerPoint on my desktop here, which is taking a moment for this to render. But notice when I hit share and I chose my desktop, it appeared down at the bottom as a clickable item for me to send to the queue. So if I click on it, and it's taking a while here, probably because I'm sharing my screen from 2 different locations now, and the Teams client might be getting a little confused. But if one of my event group had their content shared, it would also appear as content for me to choose. And when I click, it puts it in the queue. And I'm actually going to stop sharing and do that again. See if we can't get this to look a little bit better. Okay, for some reason it's not rendering my other screen here. I'm going to try one more thing just so it doesn't look completely strange. Try a different one. Okay, don't know why that's happening, but I assume it's because I'm sharing my screen from multiple locations, and our meeting is probably here at capacity. So I will click one of these items here. Even though this is just a blank screen, it should be showing my desktop. And then when I'm ready, imagine that this had a PowerPoint, something up on the screen, a logo. We're ready to go. I'm going to hit send live. And when I hit send live, it's not actually, that's strange, it's appearing correct on the live event window. When I hit send live, we're not actually live, although the name suggests it we are. As indicated up here by our indicator, we are still pre-live. So when I'm ready, I say, okay, our live event window looks good, our queue looks good, and I can actually, don't mind my home working environment. We all, I think, are working from home. So I will say hello to everybody here. And now I turned on my video, and I also have my desktop sharing. So what I can do is I can actually split this content. So let's say I had a PowerPoint on my desktop and I wanted to put my face next to it. There is an option here, right there. And if I click that option, I can add a video from below. So when I add my video, it puts me up here into the queue, and then I have my live event still going on the right. And now if I want to do a seamless transition to with my desktop to my desktop with my video, I will hit send live. And there you go. So it transitioned here on the live event. I'm actually going to unmute my other mic here, so we might get some good closed captioning going for my attendees. I mean, I'm using multiple audio devices here. It's kind of crazy what we're doing right now, but I can talk, I can narrate over my PowerPoint, share my screen. If I had other presenters in here and it was their turn to start sharing, I could simply click their video feed and send them to the queue, send them live, and just do the transitions that way. So I'm going to turn off my video, go back to the regular screen, send it live. There we go. So this is still going. I wish I had some more relevant content up here for you. There we go. We'll just leave this PowerPoint up for our live audience. And when I'm ready to go, I'm going to hit start. So it gives me one more chance. Does everything look great? I say yes, I hit continue, and now we are live as indicated by our indicator up here. We are live, and it turns a nice red, very appropriate for going live in a live event. So now everything I'm saying is live. If I have other presenters in here and they are speaking, they are going to be able to hear what's going on. Everybody in my live event will be able to hear. I'm not gonna put this in presentation mode. I'm gonna leave it right there. And we can go about our live event. We can do all the fun video stuff that I was showing, and we can do all the transitions. Now up here at the top, we do have a bunch of options here. This first option is just some telemetry, rather some health about our stream. It'll give you some nerd statistics about the bandwidth and some bitrate stuff. And then this icon right next to it, that's actually our live Q&A box. So if I'm during the live event, one of my presenters is speaking and I want to go look at the Q&A box, I hit that button, and now we open the live event Q&A. So our Q&A is open as indicated by our slider. And like we said, it is a moderated experience. So we have a new section, we have a published section, and we have a dismissed section. So as questions come in, they automatically go to the new section. The moderators then can go through, look at the new questions, and they can take action on them. They can give a private reply so that communication stays between the asker and the moderator. If they think it's a really good question, they can publish the question so that everybody can see it. It will pop up in everybody's Q&A box, and they would hit publish, and it would go to the publish section. Or if it's unruly, if they're using profanity, doing something they're not supposed to be doing, they can hit dismiss, and it will essentially just delete the question, and it will go into our dismissed questions section. That is a tongue twister. So you don't have to have the live event Q&A open at all times. There is this slider here, remember, and we can toggle this off and say we're going to hold questions until the end, or we can leave it open the whole time. That's completely up to you. Now, we do have 0 attendees in our live event right now. It is just a mock live event, and that's indicated to us up here at the top by this attendee count. So we have 0. That's unfortunate because this is a awesome broadcast. And this attendee count will be true at all times before you're live and while you are live. So remember, before we went live and our indicator up here was yellow, if we had 500 people already in the lobby, if you will, before we went live, and they were seeing that screen that said the live event has not started, we would still see 500 attendees there. And that might be a good indicator to me that maybe I need to make an announcement, right? Maybe they're confused on the time it was supposed to start. Maybe they're joining 30 minutes early. So I can actually make an announcement and say, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining early. We will begin in 20 minutes. And when I do an announcement, it goes to everybody in the the place where everybody sees it. So essentially the published section, and it does not have your name. It actually just says moderator, and then people can come in and like it and interact with the message that way. So let's see what else we
Grant,
are
got a
live.
couple of questions that
Yes.
have come in. So one question was, can multiple people be speaking even though they are not presenting, such as in a board meeting conversation?
They absolutely can. So this would make more sense if I had more presenters in here in the live event. Let me freeze frame and draw some boxes for you. If I had oh my goodness, that's a terrible box. If I had another presenter there and another presenter there, and another presenter there, and they would all have their icons just like I have mine, and they were all off mute, they could all talk at the same time. That is correct. So I don't have to queue up people to speak. That's controlled by their microphone. Now the control you do have as a moderator, I can mute somebody. I cannot unmute them, but I can mute them, similar to how you can in a normal Teams meeting.
And then there was also a question. Thank you, Grant. There was also a question: is can you do polls during a live event?
Polls? No, you cannot. You cannot. You are limited to just this Q&A format. Now, I will say that what we do often, and as Michael did at the beginning of this, is that you can post. I could have posted a link to an Office 365 form that could serve as a poll. And I could post it as an announcement and say, please go fill out this poll, click this link, it'll open up a new tab and answer the question. But out of the box, there's no integration there with polls, which are coming to Teams government meetings.
So the forms that Grant spoke of, that is a feature that is available via your Office 365 subscription. And so if you go to office.com and you log in as yourself, you'll see an icon there that says forms. You click that and you can generate a form, just as I did the form that we used here, and you can create multi-choice questions, text questions, yes, no questions, and you can even put big free form fields. And so it's a really nice, very easy to use, pretty powerful forms generator. And then when you're done, it captures all of that into puts a graph and a chart, and then you have the ability to download that into a Excel spreadsheet.
That is correct. And that's a great example of bringing the tools together. So while we don't have it, right out of the box where we can hit a button that says polls, using forms as part of your Office 365 subscription, you could easily make a form and paste it as a QR code, as a link, however you want to get that poll out. So similar to how Michael did at the very beginning, he had a QR code at the beginning of that PowerPoint. You could do a similar thing here. So any other questions, Michael, before we move to the post-live event section?
Yeah, there was a question about smart boards from Smart Technologies, and could you integrate what's on a smart board into a live event?
So I don't want to say no. There's a way to do it. I don't think we would have time to really dive into it. There's all kinds of fancy little workarounds we can do. I think is it a smartboard brand? I mean, there's many questions we would have to dive into very specifically.
And so, Carol G, if you want to reach out to myself, Michael Kennedy, or go through Joy, then we could get that answered.
Yep, and we would need to see if it maybe is a Teams native device. There's a lot of questions we could ask there. Michael, any other questions? And I see we have 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'll just answer this one real quick, and then we can go into the post-event section. So there was a question from Richard. He said, we were going to use Teams live event for our next meeting, but when we sent the invite to attendees, there is no dial-in information for them to join the meeting via phone. And so when you subscribe to Office 365, there is not a conferencing feature that is built into live meetings or live events. Though because of some legislation and the DCS regulations, Microsoft is not able to sell our conferencing solution or our telephony solutions through the DCS contract. And so what you can do is there is an additional conferencing SKU that can be bought outside the DCS program. We have many customers who have done that, and that gives you the ability. It is a per user per month cost, and it comes with local numbers and unlimited minutes. And so you don't need a conference SKU for every single person in your organization, just ones that are creating meetings. And in that case, Richard, when you create a meeting, you would actually add in the conferencing number and the attendee code.
Yep. And Michael, important call out there. That is just for the presenters and producers to dial in.
Yeah, for live events.
Yes, for live events. Regular Teams meetings is for everybody.
Got it.
So, yep, perfect. I'm gonna.
Nate, you asked what contract that would be under. That's called an MPSA. I apologize. I don't know what that stands for. And so if you ask your person in charge of procurement, they can work with Gary Geddes, our account executive, and he can get that for you. It's just like a secondary contract to your DCS contract that you bought your Office 365 through. And there was another question, what license level do you need to create a live event? Grant, I think to create a live event, you just need G1 or G3, E3.
Anything that comes with Teams, that is correct. So if you have the Teams client, you can do this. So if you have E135, you've got it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's go into the post meeting, and then we can do the Q&A.
Perfect.
Q&A here at the end.
So I'm going to speed up here to accommodate our ending here. Now, up at the top, we didn't talk about everything. There's one more section I would like to call before we end, is this chat box. So a lot of customers, they say, okay, well, if we can't have kind of that back channel conversation with, let's say I had another presenter in here and I need to tell them, hey, you're up next, make sure you're ready, you're live in 15 minutes. A lot of customers say, well, they can't come off mute because then they're being broadcasted. So that's what this chat box is for. This chat is for your producers and presenters so that I can come in here and say, Michael Kennedy, you are up in 10. And this is just between us, my event group that we specify, my producers and presenters. So that is the last piece I will show you from the live experience. So when we're ready for this to be over, I simply hit the end button. It does give you a final warning. Are you sure you want to end the live event? Because you cannot restart a live event after it has ended. So it's giving you a second chance. I say, yes, I am ready. And now as this ends, the live event has ended. Notice our indicator up here has changed to white and it is ended. And now we can all speak freely and rest assured that it's over. So nobody can hear us anymore. Now, when I'm really, really done, I can stop sharing my screen, close out of my windows, and I will actually, I need to make sure I didn't just leave the meeting. Okay, I'm still in our meeting. And now I can just leave. So now let's talk about after the fact. If you want to go and get those resources, now we just ended, so it might not be here yet, but when we're ready to go back and look at those resources that we specified at the front, we can go back to our invite, our producer calendar slot, and scroll down. And now we have our live event resources showing up. So here is our Q&A report. This will be all the questions and answers that were asked and given, and I could download it. Our attendee engagement report, our recording for attendees, I could disable that if I needed to right here on the fly, as well as our transcript. So our transcript translated into every language that we had specified, and I could download each one of these. And if I actually refresh this, I bet, there it is. It popped up here at the top, our recording. So if I need to download a recording, if I need to download a recording other than what's already out there for people to go back and view, if I need to download an MP4 format, I can download it right from here, hitting this download button. Now, what did it look like for our attendees? If you want to kind of go back and watch that yourself, or if anybody needs to go back and watch it, I'm going to open an incognito browser. And I still have copied to my clipboard our join link, and I will join it, watch on the web. And Michael, can you all still hear and see me?
Yes.
Okay. Or not see me, just hear.
Yes.
So this is what it looked like to our attendees. And I'm going to mute this so we don't get that echo. Notice our up here at the top left here was our State of Texas all hands, and this is that. Remember, I was sharing my desktop, and notice I get a full DVR playback just by revisiting that link that was sent out to attendees. So there's not a whole lot going on here because we weren't really doing anything. Down here at the bottom right, if we needed somebody to, if somebody needed to turn on their closed captioning, I could turn on the closed captioning. It takes a second for it to start populating. And hopefully I wasn't on mute. There you go. So the closed captioning popped up here. And then if I go to the settings, I can actually translate all of this into French. There you go. And our French population can now watch our live event with their language popping up here. So they can come back and look at these questions. Here's the announcement that I made. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Notice it says moderators. And here's the interface for asking questions. So that is that. I can fast forward, full DVR, pause, play, rewind, fast forward. I can adjust the playback speed if I want to speed this thing up. And that's it. So this is live. Like I said, I can't remember if it's 90 or 180 days, and Michael, correct me if you know, but I can post that same link. Now, how did I get here? Remember, it's our attendee link. So people can go back and watch our live broadcast by revisiting their attendee link. And I could post this on my website and say, did you miss the State of Texas All Hands? Here is the link to go watch it again. And Microsoft is hosting that in Azure Media Services. And the attendee link, you could just post there however you want. So, Michael, I think we're ready for the questions. That is my show for the day.
Thank you so much, Grant. I know it's a lot of content and you were juggling about 15 different things at the same time. So thank you very much. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. I do have a link to a tip on how to get to some training that's really easy to do. Let's see, give me 1 second here. And I will share, let's see, let me share my desktop. Okay, are you seeing my desktop?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So when you are in Teams, when you're using the Teams client, down in the lower left-hand corner, there is a little help icon. And if you click that, right here, it says training. And so if you click on training, then it brings up a whole list of really great training that's hosted by Microsoft and created by Microsoft. And so there's all kinds of basic information about Teams and channels and working with posts and messages. And then if you go all the way down here, keep going, then set up and attend live events. So here's how to plan and schedule live events, producing a live event, attending a live event, and then moderating a Q&A. Now, these are short videos. There are also longer videos that are available on office.microsoft.com, as well as on YouTube. You can just search for live event training. And so there's really great content that's available out there. But this is built literally right into the client itself. And so that is how you can find training. And then let me go back to the PowerPoint. Let's see, here we go. Okay, and if we could, I'll put back up the evaluation. Whoops, let's see, it's in presenter mode. Let me get rid of that. All right, I'll just bring it up like this. Okay, so if anybody has a question that you would like to ask verbally, feel free to come off of mute, and then I will also check and see if there are any questions in the meeting chat.
Also,
Okay.
Michael, it might be worth noting that Joy put the link to the eval in the meeting chat. So it's much easier to just click that there as well if you scroll through that.
Yeah, right here, this aka.ms/live events eval.
And Michael, I'll just go ahead and ask. I see a lot of people asking this question, or I'll go ahead and say, I see a lot of people asking this question. I did just confirm here in the background that recording, visiting that same link, is 180 days. It is not 90 days. So 100 days, 180 days after the event is over, attendees can watch the event on demand using DVR options.
Yeah. Now you can download the video and then you can then host it on YouTube or Venmo or some other platform, but that's just how long it keeps the video out there at that same URL.
I have a question.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Blair Ferrier with TDM, Texas Division of Emergency Management. If we're in regular meeting mode, how do I keep other people? Is there a way to disable who can share and who can't share? And I'll mute my mic now.
So any of your producers and presenters will be able to share. That's unfortunately, we can't control it much more than that. So anybody that you are inviting to producers and to produce and present, you'd probably need to trust them.
Are you talking about live events mode or meeting mode?
Meeting mode. Oh, I didn't know. I thought we were talking. I thought your question was about live events. We're talking about regular meetings.
It was regular meetings.
Regular meetings, you can go into the meeting options and designate presenters. So
thank you very much.
Yep. I'll go ahead and expand on that in case anybody else has that question. If you look at, whenever you schedule a meeting, if you go to that meeting invite and look underneath, there's some fine print at the bottom, and it will have a hyperlink that says meeting options. When you click meeting options, it launches a new tab in a browser, and you will be able to designate who can present. So you can demote people just to attendees and promote. And it's pretty self-explanatory at that point. Good question.
So whenever you have that download link available so that people can go download the actual video itself, are you able to distribute that to anyone you want?
If it was a public event, yes. So if we had chosen a regular public event where anybody could join, we could send that link to literally anybody. So I could paste that link into our chat window here, which I'll go ahead and do. And anybody could go join that live event and watch that recording that way.
Okay.
If it was public,
Thank you.
if it was internal only, they could not. They would have to sign in.
Makes sense.
I did see that Tom Gunter asked a question. I just checked in my Teams to see if I could set up a live event, and I don't see that option. Is it something an admin might have turned off? The answer to that is yes, Tom. Through the administrative console, you can set up that only a certain group of people can create live events, or you can block it completely for the whole tenant.
Have another question, if you don't mind. This is Blair again.
Hello. Go ahead, Blair.
Hey, is there a way in the telephony side to have a constant conference ID that never changes?
Ooh, that's a curveball right there, Blair. I don't think so. The conference ID, from my understanding, is always dynamic. What you can do is you can do a dedicated bridge number. I don't think you can do a dedicated conference ID. I think that is changed on the fly. Now, I could be wrong, and we do have people that specialize in the telephony side. So I would say reach out to Joy or Michael, or you can even reach out to me if you want, and we can see what we can do. I don't know off the top of my head, but I do not think so.
Thank you very much for answering the question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing that as an option in, I have the conferencing built in, and when I just created a meeting, I did not have an option to set it to use the same ID. I would honestly say, be careful about that. You've probably been hearing about, Zoom bombing and people jumping into meetings and doing things that are inappropriate. You want to be really careful about using the same conference ID all the time, or using the same meeting URL all the time, or these meeting URLs are extremely long, so no one's just going to guess your meeting URL. But that's something to keep in mind for sure.
And Michael,
Hi, Michael. I have a
Oh.
question, Michael.
go ahead.
Yes.
I've seen you showing the training when you click on the help menu. I've seen you. This is like the third time you've shown that, but our application in our agency for some reason doesn't show those links. Is it because we're running a different type of
You know what, Jose?
client? Or,
It could be because you're in GCC. Joy, do you mind checking and seeing? I'm not sure if you're able to come off mute, but maybe you can put it in, or someone else that's in GCC. Could you check and click the help button in the lower left-hand corner and see if one of your options
Hey,
is training?
Hey, Michael, this is Elizabeth with the Secretary of State. I was actually
Elizabeth.
just going to ask the same question because I was wondering if that capability was truly available with GCC, because I have been unable to find it as well.
Well, I apologize.
That's
The
okay.
training that is there is actually the same training that is on that is available in the Adaptive Learning Center, and is also available on office.microsoft.com. And so I will update my my presentations about that. Apologies. We're in a commercial tenant. Some of the agencies are in commercial tenants. We're also in these preview modes, so we see stuff that y'all don't see. It gets a little bit confusing to know who's going to see what. So my apologies there.
And I just didn't know if it was included with GCC or if it was a feature that maybe our system admin had turned off or something as well.
I'm going to find out.
Okay, cool.
that was what I was wondering too, Mike.
Yeah.
Maybe it was something that we disabled by accident or something. But don't apologize, man. But we just got
Yeah, I
excited because
know.
I see you doing all those links. I'm like, oh, that's great training. We can show people how to work.
It is awesome. I know. I
Yeah.
love that.
So GCC, Dan Knight asked the question, what is GCC? GCC stands for the Government Community Cloud, which is if you are a governmental agency and you use the government version of Office 365, it lives in that Government Community Cloud. It has a little bit higher data sovereignty rules and regulations, and it also is certified for Criminal Justice Information Systems, IRS 1075. It's not really any more secure, but it goes through more certifications. And so that's what GCC is. EDU is typically inside of the commercial cloud. And so again, same security. The reason that there are some features that are missing in GCC is that features have to go through additional certifications for FedRAMP Moderate and CJIS and IRS 1075. And it is literally just a process of time to get those certifications done. That's why you have this feature gap between the two commercial and GCC or government clouds. I know that we are over time. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll re-record the first part. So apologies again. I'm really notoriously bad about starting recording. So thank you to everybody who attended. We obviously underestimated the popularity of this topic. So I'll work with Joy to get the copy of this video out. And if we need to do another training at some point in the future, we're happy to do that. And again, for your complex public-facing scenarios, then you can reach out to me, michael.kennedy@microsoft.com, and I can engage with you and your team who is working on one of those big public-facing critical meetings. So thank you again to everybody that attended. I'll stop the recording now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am stopping the recording.